robust, and truly
Whoops.
I think we lost David.
Oh, when I started recording. Oh, man. That's weird.
Yeah, that never happened before.
Whoa. Hopefully he just bounces right back.
Hopefully it's not his bill again.
Oh wait,
Sorry, I started recording and it kicked you out. I don't know.
I said I didn't accept it for a moment.
Oh.
I had to use a 4-letter word, so I had to step out now. Yeah, so so some things will be required, some will be optional, and in the end, you got to create a full board. But we'll talk more in more detail about that. But for now, it's plans, a section are definitely, that's where we're starting. Okay. So, and yeah, we'll next week we'll take some time to we want to get CAD rolling. I might have to take off at about 4 o'clock. So if there's time at the end, Michael, and if I'm here or not, we'll maybe flip through the submissions. We want to look at those at some point and share them with everybody. So CAD's the priority right now, and we'll just see how much time remains. And next week we'll have a little more time to talk about all that. Okay.
And
can I ask you a question?
Sure.
About the one that is called Tepoztlán. You say it's a plan and a section, right? But the picture has like too many sections. So which one would you like to?
Is that the one on the hill?
yes.
Mm-hmm. Because last time we were doing the plan, but not a.
Is that you can see my screen and you're looking at it now?
Yes.
Yeah. See, let me get my files up as well. So which one is that? So we got, I have to get these, get to know these by name.
Tepoztlán.
Okay, well, we'll call it the lounge for now.
The lounge.
Okay, so we got a hut, a lounge, and a house. So the hut is the triangle, right? Yeah, okay, so the hut is the triangular one. The lounge is the one with the 2. Okay, yeah, so the lounge has multiple sections, and the best ones are typically these that have the full-blown hillside that shows some context. So I guess this is probably a section looking into it, and we're looking up the hill, I would guess.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's very boxy, and I mean, I guess these other ones are as boxy, but here we at least have the description of the landscape of the hill that it's living on. So I would shoot for one of these, this guy or this guy. That just looks like a box with a little bit of a backdrop. So 1, 2, or 3.
Okay.
Okay.
And you wanted us just to do what you did on the last video recording, or you want us to complete like for the assignment for today?
For this Sunday, the plan should be done. The plan should be done and the section should be underway, but the plan definitely needs to be done next week. And next week we'll talk more about the exact deliverables, and Michael and I have to go over the schedule a little just to fine tune it. But next week you're starting on SketchUp essentially, and we need plans done for that.
On the plans, do we need to put in the hatches too, or are we gonna have to discuss the hatches?
We'll discuss that. I'm going to talk about that more today.
Because there's different ones. Okay.
Yeah, because they are different. And so the plans going into Photoshop, and again, we'll talk more next week. That's going to be, I'd say, encouraged. Yeah, we'll say that's probably going to be encouraged, if not required. Highly encouraged, if not required. But for Sunday, you don't have to get into the hatches. The final plan and the section will be due next Thursday, a week from now. So Sunday, let's just get the skeleton of the plan done. Doors, windows, walls, furniture is less important. Built-ins should be there. So Michael's going to start preparing these files for SketchUp, which he'll talk about more on Tuesday.
And the furniture, I guess we can draw them because they're simple, right?
Well, there are blocks, you know, if there are blocks, I would use the blocks, and we could review the blocks next week too. Remind me.
Okay.
We could flip through those. I wouldn't reinvent the wheel. I mean, they're simple, but to get them properly symmetrical and stuff, I mean, you guys got enough to do. We'd rather you spend time on SketchUp and Photoshop than building blocks in AutoCAD that already exist. Okay. All right. So without further ado, so the first thing I want to go over is the paper space. So this is important. So you have to submit PDFs, and you have to learn how to do this yourself. So this is my file. I have all three running in there. And then this is what your template looks like with one viewport in paper space. So, and I set up this one already in an earlier last week, and it's all in a video there. So I set up these two, and they're good to go. And now I want to quickly do the others. And being that it's recorded, I'm not going to say the same thing again and again. I just want to kind of cover the ground quickly, and you could circle back to the video. So my images are ready to go. And this is, so I'm going to bring in other pieces of paper to do this. So what I'm going to do is rename this guy. Let's see, let's name him properly now. So this is going to be the hut. So paper space, right click, rename hut. And then this is a nice little thing you should know about DC is Design Center. And this guy comes up. This is your Design Center. And you don't need this for this project, but you should be aware of it. It's very, very helpful. So you have folders, open drawings, and a history. So open drawings. So right now I am in my hut drawing. So that's my big template with everything in it. And that's this drawing here. I also have the template open, which is what you started with. So if I go, I'm in this drawing. If I go to my template and I go to my layout, and there's my paper space. So that paper space right there is referring to this layout right here, right? So this is the template with nothing in it. This is my layout tab called paper space. Now I'm in this drawing, and I want to pull that in. I could just duplicate this guy, but actually easier. I go to my open drawings. There's my template. So any block that is in it, all the dimension styles, all the layers that are in it, my layouts that are in it, line types. So anything you have in one drawing, it's very easy to move it to another drawing. So I'm just going to take this paper space, pull it, drop it in, and now it's in this drawing. So any of the kind of behind the scenes gear, it's very easy to move from one file to another with your Design Center. So that's just a little bonus.
Yeah, I like Design Center a lot too. I feel like it's like you get a shopping cart out and you can basically pick and choose. You can pick everything, or you can just pick things that you like that happen to be in one drawing, and you want to bring them into this drawing. And so it's a very nice way of like picking and choosing information, and not having to rework from the beginning.
Yeah.
So it's great, particularly like bringing in things like blocks and.
Yeah, you don't have to do the copy and paste. And yeah, I like the shopping cart analogy. That's perfect. All right, so we got so let's right click on this guy, rename him Lounge. And if you had a template set up, I could easily duplicate this guy, but just to start from exactly where you guys are, that's why I brought him in. I could also right click, move copy, probably on my other monitor. Get you guys back where I could see you. So create a copy of this. Create a copy of the lounge, move it to the end. Okay, here's lounge 2, right click, rename, And we had hut, lounge, and house.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. For those of us who are challenged with foreign
Right.
pronouncing foreign words like myself. Okay, so let us go to the lounge. And I will, to start, I'm going to just, so again, we're in paper space. That's what that says. I'm going to double click. Now we're in model space and I have a deep line, a thicker line. I could double click with the wheel, which is my zoom extents. I could see everything. And is this the lounge?
Yes.
This is the lounge. Okay. So then I could jump back, PS for paper space. And let's just see. So the hut we did at, so I keep my property box nearby, confirming I found my viewport. So we did 3/16 of an inch. And I think this is generally what we'll aim for is plan and section on an 11 by 17 sheet. That's typically a pretty good rule of thumb for moving them to a 24 by 36 board. So somewhere in the realm of 3/16, give or take. Should be pretty close to that. So lounge. So I just centered up my image, select. So this is the vertical, guys, so I might change, but let's just see what we could find. My standard scale. 1/16, 1/8, 3/16. So let's just see what let's see what that does. And my section is off to the side of that. So let's go figure out what we had, where I left. So we could live with him right there. That's not a problem. Maybe I'll just pick him up and not have my images overlap. So you want to get this all set up properly. So that's fine. Yeah, I'm just going to live with that. So another vertical. So actually, yeah, maybe I'll change this actually, and it'll be like composing your own board. You could compose your own sheet, but I think I'm going to just, if only for a lesson, I'm going to go to Page Setup Manager here. So I'm on top of the lounge tab. Right click. So this is the context menu specifically for the lounge tab. Page Setup Manager. Probably over here. Page Setup Manager. So these are just big lessons for everybody. So this is worth learning. So now I am on my lounge tab and I want to modify it. And I'm going to turn my landscape to a portrait. So what this is the page setup. So every time that I'm in the lounge tab and I go to print, this is the default. So I have my CAD PDF at high quality. I want that. I want my monochrome 11 by 17. So I set up all this before. But for this project, I'm going to see what a portrait looks like. And say, okay. And now close. And now I have a portrait. So let's just see if I can make this work. So I'm just going to pull my viewport to where I want it. And that looks pretty good. And I'll double click. I'm not going to scroll the wheel. Push it up to the top. I typically like plans above sections. I like sections kind of belong on the ground. I could see all my grid lines. PS for paper space. And I also could use the stretch command, and then I don't have to mess with nodes. I just grab the bottom and I stretch it up. And then let's CO for copy. And again, sometimes I like to pick things up with a base point, or sometimes if not, I just come out here to right field. Got my ortho on. Just bring it down. So I'm looking at the paper, and my cursor is out of the way where I want it. All right, and now and then we could also just select them, keep an eye, 2 viewports, still at 3/16 inch scale, confirming I didn't mess anything up when I jumped into paper space. And now my section should be directly to the right. So I'll double click inside, push down on the wheel to pan, and I can see that it starts moving, but I could just hold shift and lock it in. Push, shift, Push and shift. Uh-oh.
Oh, what you did, I realized is it's down at the bottom, right next to object snap, is
Okay.
there's a,
Oh, this guy?
I think, yeah, it's one of those guys at the bottom. I think it's, you're now in an ortho, there, yeah.
I just did undo, but it was somebody down here?
I think it's the one where you see not in between polar tracking and isometric. It's
Yeah.
isometric. You switched into isometric.
Okay.
Just yeah, I think that's what happened.
Run away. I don't know about that. Okay, so that's that. So that's pretty good. And we're still, I did not mess up the scale. So 2 viewports at the proper scale. So I don't have the whole landscape here, but I'm going to stick with this for now. For our purposes, we could always come back and drop this a notch. But for now, no, we wouldn't do that. We wouldn't do that. We're going to keep these at the same scale. We could either duplicate it. We could duplicate this sheet, put it on a different sheet. But for our purposes for now, I'm not going to worry about the whole hill or the trees. So this is good to go. Okay. And perhaps you could fit them both. You probably could fit them both if it were also a landscape. But I kind of like this arrangement. So I'm going to stick with that. All right. Now let's take a look at the house. So same drill, double click, jumping through the window into model space, double click on the wheel or zoom extents. And so now we have 2 floor plans. Yeah, so I'm gonna do 2 viewports, another good lesson. And this is our first floor and that is our second. So I want the first at the bottom actually. So these are backwards, but I'll just work around that. So let's bring that down here. PS is for paper space. Select the viewport. Standard scale. Let's see how 3/16 works for this.
No problem.
Very big. Where did I go? Why is that so big? Did I do that right? Paper space, select. Standard scale, 3/16.
No, I think it's only big, David, because it does include that yard.
Oh,
I think your scale's fine.
okay. Oh, you mean you mean it's correct, but it's
Yeah,
it's too big for this piece of paper, I would say, no?
right. Exactly.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to turn this piece of paper as well, I think. So right click, page setup manager, modify the house, portrait, okay, close. Do my stretch. So the stretch command, again, it's definitely worth learning. I don't know if we use that in 103 too much. So stretch, enter, and what I'm doing is making a box around the part of whatever it is I'm stretching that I want to move. So I want the right side of this image, the right side of this viewport to move, and then I just push it. Rectangles are very easy to do this too, but when you get a lot of, so then I could just bring it right back to the line, stretch, grab the left side of the viewport that I want to move. Then I line my big cursor up right on it, push it over, lining my cursor up with the dashed line. Stretch, up. Select 3/16, we'll drop it to 1/8, and it just fits. Double click, moving it straight up. And what did I say? This is the first floor.
Yes, it is.
This is the whole drawing. So I'm gonna move this down, down, down. I might just, well, let's see. If I keep the section there, could I squeeze this all in? PS for paper space. Oh, yeah, so that might just suffice, right? Like that, and then I could squeeze the second. Oh wait, no, I can't. No, I can't. That's not going to work. Okay, so
Very tight if you could do
yeah,
it.
stretch up, stretching down, moving down. So if I'm not snapping to things, that's why my cursor's off in right field there. Okay, so let's see. Copy the viewport, line my cursor up at the bottom, bring it up to the top. So now let's just see where we are. So my first floor is here. My second floor is way down here, and my section is above it. Back to the house. First floor. So I want to get my second floor above the first floor. First floor should be, oh, I said I like sections. I said I like sections at the bottom.
Right.
So let's move these to the top. And now I want my second floor here. So I'm going to double click inside. And my second floor is way down below. So I'm going to hold with the wheel, push, and I'm definitely going to hold shift here because I want these to be perfectly aligned. And I took all that care. So push with the wheel, start moving, holding shift. And I just go to the top, let go of shift, let go of the wheel, holding shift, let go. And that should be okay. Just down a little bit, holding shift again. PS is for paper space. And now my lines, because I took that care, when I set it up, I took a lot of care to get these lined up. And then likewise with my viewports, I take the same care to align them. It's easy. Copy, select the viewport, bring the new viewport down, stretch. And so if you're not comfortable with the stretch command, I mean, when you're doing viewports like this, it's worth practicing the stretch command, but the other option is just select the viewport, come in and get that node and bring it up. So if stretch is giving you a hard time, you know, it's good to practice, especially on rectangles. And now my section is above here, I believe. So double click, pushing down, holding shift, wheel, shift, and down. PS for paper space. And everything's as aligned as it was when I first did it. Okay. So now we have our sheets all set up and ready to go. And now, very important lesson for everybody. One more thing, I'm going to do this quickly too. So what I like to do is I like to draw a rectangle so I know exactly where my space is. All right, this is very important for all your work. So I'm going to go to a no print layer right here. And I do this always, and I always go through this procedure before I start any drafting. I like to know what my scale is, because often when we add annotation, we have to know what our scale is. And I also like to know how big my space is, so to speak. So I'm just going to, I'm on my no print layer, and I'm going to double click in here. Oh, there we go again. This guy, I guess.
I don't know why that keeps turning on you, but
Yeah. So now I'm in there, and I'm not going to scroll. I'm not going to move. I'm just going to go rectangle, enter. I'm going to go all the way to the very top left, down to the bottom right. PS for paper space. I'm just going to repeat that. Double click. There we are again with craziness. Rectangle. So it's like snapping. It's snapping to the image. So I'm going to turn off my snap. PS for paper space. Let's just run through them all quickly. And I like to zoom in as much as I can. Double click. Paper space. have to zoom in always, whenever you're drafting. It's so important. It drives me crazy when I see people trying to draft something so far away. So yeah, we need to stress buying a mouse with a good wheel is important. Double click, rectangle, PS for paper space. All right, back into model space. And now if I turn off my images, let's see if I was good about my layers. Pretty good, not perfect, but let's put these onto my image layer. And now I have my 7 viewports clear here. And then I could get my scale. Let's start with the big one, see how that looks. And this is my elevation. Now without my images, I forget what's what exactly. These are big. I might go for the smaller scale. So generally I want to tuck them in below the plans, but let's turn on my images because I can't remember all these. So now I can see, but let's just see. So now I could see my image and this. So this right there on my no print, that is the extent of my page. So my sample lines here are going to show up on my page. So let's get them off. So this is telling me what is going to appear on my PDF. And that's important to know so that I'm not filling in annotation that's falling off the page. So I always take the time to do all this stuff before I draw anything because I don't want to rearrange later. Is that a white graphic scale? Yeah, so I'm not going to be able to see that. So let's give those a little color. Just try magenta, that should do. Copy. So we could tuck him in. Is that too big, Michael?
I think it's okay.
All right. That's one for him. And my first floor plan. So these pages are tight. That's what it's telling me. I don't have a lot of room for annotation. So I might, for now, I'm going to put him up here. Typically, I like them close to the plans, but it's only one page. So, but the plans are too tight. And we need names. We like our text down at the bottom. So I'm just going to put him up here for now. If I'm not sure where he's going to live, I just don't want to forget about him. And likewise, I'm going to preserve the bottom left for text, so I'm going to put him up here. Okay. So that is that. All right, questions about any of that? And I do have text. I do have some text here. So let's just no, we're doing text in Photoshop, so I'm not going to do that. Photoshop or InDesign. So text comes later. North arrows could happen. Or they could happen on site plans. This guy's a little big, so I'm gonna drop them in just as a reminder. SC is for scale, command that we all know and love now. Select my north arrow. Again, my base point. Not that this really matters, but right in the middle, and then I'll just go 0.5. I bring him down by half a size. So we'll get these right. And if you do a site plan, we definitely would want to see it there. If you don't, otherwise we'll put it, it'll live somewhere. So just as a reminder, I'm just going to put all the pieces of the puzzle in. So this would have to be with a plan somewhere. Well, all right. It might go somewhere else, but just as a reminder. All right. Questions? All good? Pages set up? Okay. All right. So we talked a lot about this one already. So in general, again, going into Photoshop is either going to be required or highly encouraged. If if you don't, then we'll be doing some hatches here. So pocheting the walls,
I have
again,
just a question for that one.
yeah,
So because this is all like windows technically, right? Like there's only a few basic walls and then the rest of it is windows
yeah.
from what I see. Now, it's not very clear on the picture, but I guess all the windows we do like the hinges on both sides and then we just offset like,
Yeah, let me do, all right, so let me just finish that first thought and then we'll do
Okay.
some walls and windows quickly. So what was my thought? What was I saying? Oh, hatches and pocheting. So save that till the end. So for this next draft on Sunday, don't do any hatches. Those always happen last. And we'll talk more next week about Photoshop and whatnot. If you're not going to go into Photoshop, then we definitely need some nice hatching. And we'll talk more about that. But just stay away from hatching for now. And so the priority is walls, windows, and doors. And let me touch on them all for the all the projects probably. So what do I have here? So let me get rid of some of these lines. So I have all these lines and I don't need any of them down here. So I have my center line. So this was cheating the columns in. So I'm going to keep these in because that was a thought. So I'm going to trim these. And then this is a center line. I don't need that. But you remember or go back to the video that I took a lot of care getting the outside wall set. And then this center line, this node, will be for mirroring everything. And we should definitely be mirroring for consistency and saving time. And then we have the back of the house. So X line, H for horizontal. Let me get on my red layer, printing layer. X line, horizontal. I'll do that by eye. Like this other house, right? This guy, I took a lot of care to make those two squares perfectly. But when I glance at this house, I'm not seeing, well, no, let's see what, well, this back wall might perfectly align between these two columns. That's a possibility. That probably is a possibility. And this column and these windows, that could be another relationship. Yeah, let me do the columns quickly.
when I started, the windows on the bottom, they align perfectly with each other.
Yeah, oh yeah, they do. The windows definitely, I'm sure of that.
Yeah.
But I think the columns are an important part of the story. So let me do the columns quickly. So X line, H for horizontal. I'm going to call that the column. Rectangle. So that's one column. That's a good question. I'm going to move along because I do want to just look at all three houses at least. So this is my number that I've committed to. Again, typically I don't care too much about numbers. So what I'm going to do though, because I'm curious, I'm going to erase that line. So that's my column. So this is the downside, the bottom side of my column. I'm just going to go O is for offset, and I'm going to click from the right to the center. So half of the distance. And then I'm going to send this line up and see where it goes. All right, so that's not really, all right, so that's not it. Okay, so I'm going to make it up. So I'm going to copy this column and do it by eye. Now, this is important for everybody doing this house, unless I'm lying. I might be lying. No, I think I am lying. So these two look wide to me, the bottom. So this is a bay right here. So that circle is in the bay. The bay is between two structural pieces. So that looks like a big bay. Then this looks like a smaller bay. These two look the same size, and this one looks like it might be the same as the other. So what I'm getting at is if there's consistency, I expect you to find it. So I'm picking up these two columns that I established, and I'm going to bring them up here. And yes, you see, so that bay, that column spacing is the same as these. All right, everybody understands that? So I'm the two columns. I'll keep them red. All right, so the space between these is the same as the space between these. And maybe it's true of these as well. So this is important. Watch this. This is for everybody. Copy. I'm going to copy this column, but I'm going to pick it up. It's asking me, where do you want to pick that column up? I'm going to pick it up from here. So I am copying the space between the columns as well. And it proves not to matter because that is not the same. So I'm kind of surprised. It looks like a very, geometric, a very rigid kind of, or kind of structured house, but it's appearing to be less so than I thought. So I'm going to do this by eye. Does that make sense, Michael? I'm not going to labor over figuring out exactly what these bays are. So I'll pick him up.
The two that are on the screen are probably equidistant. Those look equal.
Yeah. So let's just try a different technique. So line, so let me get rid of this column line here. So if these two are equidistant, and that's what we're looking for, is consistency. And you have to be paying attention to your building and looking for these things. So line from here to here, copy this column from the middle and move it to the middle of this line. And yes. So the distance between those columns and the distance between these columns is equidistant, and that's what that line allowed me to do. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 column lines and 5 bays. 1 bay, 2 bay, 3 bay, 4 bay, 5 bay. And then MI is for, well, I could mirror. I could mirror. I could also do the dash lines quickly. So we could also get rid of.
Might as well do those.
So line, bring him in. And then I have my handy reference here, MA. And for this scale, I kind of think, let's just see how that guy looks. Too big. MA, this guy. It's just much tighter. So I think I'm going to change that actually. Let's change that to 0.1. So again, these are there. So that's 0.1. Let's see what 0.15 looks like. Better. 0.15. Okay. So figuring things out and doing it in a very systematic approach is very important for efficiency. So now copy, bring him up, copy, grab both of them. So it's for consistency and efficiency. Two good things when it comes to drafting. As fun as it is, we don't want to spend more time. We don't want to stay up all night. Okay. MI is for mirror. Select everybody, and then I'm going to do a window. I'm going to do one set of windows, and I'm moving on. So I got everybody. I selected everybody. It said, where is your base point? Or select the first point of the mirror line. So that is my line down here, my southern side line that I took care to locate. So that's the first point, and then I'm just going to pull down, and I see everybody. See how everybody's. When I pull down, everybody mirrors to the left. If I were to pull in this direction, they're mirroring about that line south. I'm going to pull down, and they're mirroring to the west now. And then it says, do I want to erase the object source? No, I want to keep my original columns. And then, so I have consistent columns on both sides. And I did establish this is the back of my house. So I'm going to trim these guys. These guys could go away. And that looks like the beginning of a project. Okay. All right, let me do these windows and then I'm moving on. All right, so we have to figure out our wall sizes. So again, measurements, don't care about them too much, but it's always good to get a sense, you know, we do care. So 3.5, so that's a pretty thin wall actually for, I don't know what the climate is. I don't know how much insulation they need and whatnot, but all right, let's just say offset 4. So how does that look? That looks good. Maybe a little heavy. It could be 3.5. 3.5 or 4. So that's a little on the heavy side, but it's okay. So that's my magic number for all my walls for this house. Then this looks like probably a plumbing wall, or for some reason it's thicker. I don't know. I'm not sure what that is. That might be the kitchen. That might be a sink. I don't know. I would guess so. I don't see it anywhere else. So that is my magic number. And let's do this little bank right here. So it looks like that these posts or columns are the same thickness as this. They're related, definitely. So I will go offset. And again, if I don't remember my number, I could just show it what I want. Click 1 and click 2. So the width of that column is the same as the height of that column. So even if it looks like I left that fuzzy picture a little bit, I'm going to stick with 4 inches. Everything is going to be 4. All right. So how should we do this? So I'm just gonna continue these lines right here. I think that's the easiest way. So again, at this point, I'm only paying a little bit of attention to the JPEG that's below, because I know that these things align. I know that this whole structural arrangement's running through the house. So I'm just going to make this the post right here, or whatever that is. Probably a column of some sort. All right, so that is that. That is the bay. Now, I would trim these out. I'm just going to trim right through. And now I have a nice open bay. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. All my care. How did that happen? All right, well, I'm gonna have to repair it. So for some reason this is not aligned. I don't know how that happened, but I'm just gonna pick it up and repair. Pick him up, move him down.
Yeah.
Strange. Well, I'm not changing my column thickness, and I don't want to change my wall thickness either, for that matter. I'm going to change the wall thickness. That's crazy. Let's see, what is this? That might have been, so 3 1/4. I think that might have been the better play. Yeah, I'm going to do that again. I'm going to reduce the wall sizes. This should be consistent. I don't know why something got goofy there. So I got my box. So I'll just do that one more time. We could edit this out, Michael. All All right, so I got my box. Rewind about 5 minutes. So it said 3.5, and I'm not sure. I truthfully don't know if this is, but for consistency, I'm going to make it 3.25 because I do want these posts to be the same thickness as these columns. So I'm just going to make the walls the same, and we'll just see how it goes. O is for offset. So if this is going to be the thickness, and yes, there's sometimes there's revisions. So this looks a little on the thinner side. So first I was on the thicker side, but again, for consistency, I'm going to call it okay. All right, so now we're back where we were. And again, so now I will extend these. So now I have a 3.25 inch square right there. And then trim, and I'll take that out. And now everything is aligned because I think that's how it should be. So my numbers might very well be off by 1/2 inch or an inch. But more important is that they're consistent. You know, there's only so much information I could gather from this JPEG. So really the geometric relationships and the consistent wall thicknesses and relationships are more important than, is it 3.5? Is it 4? I don't know. All right, but this is important for the windows. So I trim all that out. I'm going to draw a construction line from here to here. And I will divide this by 3. And a display issue is the command PD mode. So I just type PD mode right there, and it has a value of 100. So I think it's correct. All right, so what I'm going to do is divide, div, enter, and everybody needs to know how to do this. Select the line, and I will divide it by 3. And then these 2 nodes just appeared, okay? So if my PD mode was set to 1, which it often is by default, we can't see them. All right, if you're using my template, it might be correct. They're there, so watch, I'm just gonna make a window. Oh, no, maybe, well, they should be there.
You should.
Should be there, that's funny. Let's try that one more time. Divide, select 3. Huh, they're not even being acknowledged. That's funny. All right, well, suffice to say, PD mode makes them visible. But typically they are there anyway. 100. Yeah, so I guess they were there. So, but I couldn't select them anyway. Nodes are things that are, when you divide something, nodes show up. And if PD mode is not set to 100, you can't see them. So I guess you could just make them disappear. So if you want to keep them but not see them, then you make them disappear. And then very important down here at snap, I right click, and again, endpoint, midpoint, and there's node. So now that I'm using nodes, that has to be on. Perpendicular has to be on. Intersection, those are the big ones. All right, but node I want on. If you want to snap to a node, you need it to be on. All right, so now I've divided this line by 3, and very important, this line runs from the inside of the post to the inside of the post, not the inside to the outside. We have to be nice and consistent. So kind of strange. This post is not falling perfectly on that, but I think I'm going to overrule that and make these 3 equal windows. So I will, and I think I'm going to pick up this square and just, yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm just going to make some judgment calls. So I'm going to type a rectangle, top right to the bottom left. There's my rectangle. I'm going to select the top line and the bottom line and get rid of them. I don't like to have extra lines. So I have 1 square, 2 lines. I'm going to pull these lines off because I don't want my lines, I don't want one on top of the other. So as you go, you should always be checking to make sure, you know, that everything is neat and tidy. So I have one post, two walls that stop there. And then I want this post right here. And in order to do so, I need to pick it up from the center of the post. So line from corner to corner, copy the post, pick it up from the center. And that's something you definitely have to get used to in CAD, is picking up objects, perhaps from locations not on the object. So I want the center. So now I have it from the center, take it down and drop it on the node. Center of post to center of node. Get rid of my node. Get rid of my node. And then I can trim. Trim. This will be my glass, piece of glass that was cut through. So I'm going to make that the middle. Copy all three of them. Move them to the outside and to the inside. Select, 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 and select. And that is my sill, which is not cut through. So that is what a window should look like. There are different ways to draw them, but that's how I like it. Yeah, so piece of glass cut in the middle, two sills and posts, and they are all equal. So let's just come here. So let's see how this turns out. Well, now that I'm saying how much I like it, let's turn off our images. Control plot. High quality PDF, monochrome. I like extents, so everything here is going to print. Landscape, preview. I think it looks pretty good. So I have to get rid of that diagonal there, but otherwise. And then of course, just like we did with the visitor center, we could start moving the values up and down, or maybe the walls are a little too dark, but relatively speaking, even from this distance, I could see three lines in there. It's not blurring into one. And if it gets too blurry and they start getting too close together, I'll just reduce the sizes. So it depends. You know, if you're drawing a big building, then you wouldn't have three lines for a window. But for a little house on a piece of 11 by 17 that's showing up on a 24 by 36 board, we should be able to get three lines in there, I think. Wouldn't you agree, Michael?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So big buildings, you might have to simplify it to one line or something. You come up with a different strategy, but for where we are.
And I guess we need to adjust the LT scale too, so we can see the lines.
Correct. Yeah. So if we,
Okay.
yeah. So this would be LT scale back to 1, and that should match. Now I forget our LT scale. So no, we had 6. What's our LT scale for 3/16?
I think it was 72.
Oh, I was asking Romina.
Oh, okay.
She's the one who threw me there.
Thank you.
I think it's 5 lines. Yeah, 72 is the magic number. So you should have that memorized or on a post-it on your computer. 72 and 1. All right. Okay, you want to take a short break and then we'll look at the other two houses?
Yes.
This window applies to everybody, but we'll look at the other houses for any other, you know, particularly peculiar issues. Okay. 10 minutes. We'll say 13 after. Okay, so we'll take so I might have to leave a little early myself, so I'm going to look at these two in the next 45 minutes is my goal, and of course, you know, come back on Tuesday with any questions. And then stop me if you have any questions now. And I was just saying to Michael that I'll try not to favor this one so much, but the window lessons and all those commands that applies to everybody. So time well spent. So this guy, the house, the house. So yeah, we were just looking at the pictures, and what did we just say? We saw there's actually a little shed. So if we look at this guy one more time. So we have a low roof here, then we have the high roof. We have a courtyard, and then where you drive in or whatever happens right there, there's another little shed roof there. So we have 3 roofs, and then we have a courtyard with a circle in it. Let's just, so we can see that one more time. Yeah, oh, nice. Now we can see it there. Perfect. Okay. So in the floor plan, I would expect to see these columns are cut. We'll see if we see that. And then there's our just gravel and a circle of some sort there. Don't know the importance of the circle, but brick circle amongst the gravel. So the line weights, so that was a little deceiving. That's why I was kind of scratching my head a little. Oh, so the little flat piece of the roof there. So this is really the same roof. So yeah, so the line weights leave a little bit to be desired here, right? Because this is a roof. It's probably a little bit, at least a little bit above that wall, I think. I'm not going to go back and look at the pictures. Regardless, I think this line right here surrounding that roof should be a little darker than that back wall, both of which should definitely be darker than the circle. But this is a nice candidate for going into Photoshop and adding a nice texture in there, very light, maybe the gravel. Don't draw all these lines. Definitely don't do that. We'll figure that out as a hatch, or we'll do something in Photoshop. A hatch might be nicer. I don't know. Yeah, finding something in Photoshop could be a little, I wouldn't probably not do that. So, but no hatches before Sunday. Next week, we could spend some time with hatches. We'll definitely do that. Otherwise, this house, I mean, we don't even have windows here. We have some ultra thick walls. So the thick walls are the exterior walls that keep the heat in and the cold out, or vice versa, depending on the season and where we live. So the exterior walls are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we have very thin partition walls inside. Oh, and then we have a medium wall actually too. So we have a third wall. The courtyard walls are the middle ground. All right, so we established all these lines as we set this up. So I will live with, I'm going to keep all those lines right there. So I'm just going to quickly do, the walls in this one as a lesson in walls, how we could quickly do this for consistency. Again, lessons for everybody. So I like all my vertical ones. I work those out with care. So X line, H for horizontal, and I'm just going to drop these by eye. One at the top, one at the bottom. And then I will trim. Trim. So that's trimming my, I just trimmed my my nifty viewport piece. Okay. So I have my outside. Okay. So O is for offset. That's just, we like to know round numbers, how thick these things are appearing. Thick. 15-inch walls. So I'll go with 15. Offset 15 in, down, over, up, over. We got, oh, so I see one column there. Okay. I thought I saw more in the picture, but maybe not. X line horizontal. Do it by eye right here. O is for offset, goes back to my original number. I don't want to lose that. I also want that number. And I believe that column, I'm going to make it the same thickness as this. So I'm going to take care of that column right now so I don't lose that line on it. So if that's 15, I'll call this 10. Offset 10. X line. Offset goes right back to 10 where it was. I could see that down in my command line. So yeah, I'm gonna live with that number. Rectangle. Columns and posts, I like to be one object. So that's where I put in rectangles. These could go away for now. So we got that perfectly aligned with the outside. So always, when you get those lines in place, look left, right, up and down for other pieces. So now we could do some trimming. We'll trim these, trimming, trimming, trimming. Let's get rid of some things, trim and trim, trim. I will keep that like that for the window later. Trim and trim. Cleaning up later. Trim, trim. That'll get erased. These guys could get trimmed, trimmed. Trimmed. I think we need dash lines there. I suspect something's going on overhead. Trim on this side. Trim on that side. Get rid of him. That's good for now. Go away, go away. All right. Let's do the 10-inch walls, offset 10. So they are going to be solid. Bring him up. Bring over. Did that come over? Yes. 10 and 10. That's all I see.
One at the top.
Oh, yes. Offset down. Trim there. Trim and trim. Erase. Take care of that later. Need a line there. Need a line there. This one I want. So I'll trim him right there and erase that. So we could trim him. This there. Trim and trim, 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 stretch. Trim. So just out of curiosity, let's see. O is for offset, this distance. Is it the same as this distance? No. Okay. I was reaching. Good. Okay, I'm not going to go on and on and on. You get the sense. There's not too much else to do with this house now. I mean, so I'll do a door. Let me do, what do you think, Michael, with these windows?
Hmm.
Try something different for fun? Two lines or?
Yeah, I mean, it's either going to be 2 lines or a single line and then the frame being shown. Let's take a look at the.
Yeah, let's look at the picture. Because yeah, these are not the same types of windows. This is yeah, this is framed glass, so it probably should be different. Well, let's see what we see. So that's the door, which has a big frame. So big plates of glass. They do have good sized frames at the ends,
Mhm.
but they do look more kind of petite in their depth.
Yeah,
At least the way they drew them, that it does.
which might be consistent with it being steel rather than wood.
Yeah, good point. So yeah, let's try something different. It's a nice house. Yeah, so good point. Steel, so we'll draw it differently. So in the other place it was a it was over 3 inches. So let's just draw a line here. And we'll just go O for offset. And again, we'll work with line weights, or if it proves to be, and just like I did with that first project, so O is for offset, I'm just showing it the distance and sending it back. Just like I did with the first one, I went to the print preview and you go on and make big decisions. Before you go on and draw 12 windows, go check it in the print preview. And so we'll do that. Okay, so I am going to, I don't know, let's just go O is for offset. Let's send the door in that same distance. I'm going to do that, all right? So this steel frame, like it's a big blurry blob right now of pixels. And in the pictures, it might not be quite as big, but again, for our purposes, we need this to be visible when it gets printed. So I am going to cheat this door off the wall a little bit. All right, even if they're drawing it, because you could just see how they drew it super close, and as we zoom in, it's getting very blobby. So I'm going to cheat the door out a bit. So what I did, I established that as the window thickness, or the frame thickness at least. So O is for offset, and I'm going to send this line out the same distance. So I'm going to make it a square. So I want to come out that far, like that. So, and then I'll just go O is for offset, and I'll just show it the distance. Click 1, click 2, and send it back. So then trim out the center, trim those pieces. Yeah, that's what I would call it, just like that. And being that they're close, I know they're not going to be red. Red's reserved for, I might move them onto green just for now. And with 3 different projects, I wouldn't be able to do that with my line weights. I'd be fighting one project from the other, but I'm going to call that good for now. We'll have to see how it prints. So now I want to draw a door, and this is important. I see a lot of bifold doors that are drawn weird, and arc doors also, normal doors. So one way we could do it is we could just draw a line here, like a real door, right? RO is for rotate. Pick the point, and we are going clockwise, which is -90. So I just open the door. Go like that. So that line was over here, and I just rotated it -90. So don't do it by eye, all right? That doesn't match their drawing, but it will close. It'll close. That's more important. Another way to draw it, I like my offset. So O is for offset. Click 1, click 2, and send that line up. And then I could just draw a line. So that's maybe a couple extra clicks, but now that door will properly close. And C is for circle. Start at the hinge and come up. So trim out, away, away, and good.
You wouldn't do an arc?
No, I wouldn't, because well, no, I mean, an arc might be less, but I often I see in a lot of student drawings, I see arcs that look like that.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you can make your arcs look as good as my quarter circle, you know, you just have to get it to look right. And if you make it look good enough and we can't tell, that's fine. But I don't like mushy arcs like that. That looks odd. So it should look like a true quarter circle. So this would be on our magenta. This would be dashed. I think we have the right LT scale, 72. Bring my handy lines over. Where are my handy lines? Right here. Bring a set over here. MA for match properties. And that looks pretty good. So I don't know if the windows, I don't know if we're happy with the window or not, but let's take a look. House, turn art. Well, our images should be on a no printing layer, but I don't think it is. So let's turn those off. Control plot. This should all be set correctly. Yes, preview. Yeah, that generally looks pretty, so the LT scale's not set, so that's why we don't have a dashed line, but otherwise I think that's pretty good. Would you like to see a third line there, you think, Michael?
No, but what about something that, you know, just, I'd love to see a frame there.
Okay, on the left side? And
Right,
there's
on the left side of the opening.
So
Yeah, we can just copy that guy.
yeah, just go O for offset, so just show it the distance, O, over, and he comes out the same distance. Trim and match.
And I would also have one where the door meets. Yeah, right there.
O is for offset. Now.
Yeah.
Okay,
That makes me happy.
good. It's a nice, neat house.
Yeah, it's got some very interesting characteristics, particularly in section, the way it brings in light.
Yeah, the photographs are beautiful. The simple plan, they say, belies or doesn't really, the plan's not exciting, but it's really elegant inside, I think. Let's just take another look and see. So any questions about this house for those that are working on it? So down on the ground floor, these will be light lines. These could also be green. So that's a sink, it looks like. So this would be magenta. So, and there would be, I think there's something over our head here. So I think we need a dash line here. And then this, let's just take a look at the photographs one more time, actually.
Yeah, that's not well represented there, as you can see.
Yeah, so we have a super thick wall and the frame is on the inside, and then there's just a big ledge on the outside. So I would, so once I get this thing drawn, let's just, actually, let me finish trimming this out now. Yeah, so just then well, actually, I shouldn't say just. Let's take one more look at the drawings. Oh, so there is a door here too, actually. See that in the corner? So it's your responsibility to match these photographs. Don't just trace drawings. And then we have to draw these things as well, which we probably draw as pretty typical doors, maybe a little skinnier.
Mhm.
So we have a big door on the right. Let's see what we could see. And so they don't even draw the door. So you guys have to do a better job than they did. So I would just pick this assembly up then.
Yep.
Copy. And this door is going to swing probably, typically residential doors swing in, the hinge is on the right. I might swing out, but I'm going to assume it's swinging in. So I want the door swinging in this way. And so it's this point right here is going to go right there. So with a little thinking ahead, we could do this and we could minimize the amount of clicks. So that goes there. Rotate everybody about that point, and we are going counterclockwise, which is 90 for some reason in CAD. And that's lands there.
And that could be,
S is for stretch.
that's an excellent stretch, yes.
Selecting that piece that I want to go. And what the stretch does, it's pulling everything in the window, and where this line comes across the top, oh no, stretch. The top of my box is where the stretch comes out of. It's good to practice this command. And then it's always good to keep on our ortho too, so we don't lose sight of things. And it's a big door, so we can't just stretch a door. So if we, well, I don't know, is it the same size?
I think we could assume it's the same size.
Okay, it
We
looks
really
big.
don't have a way of ascertaining that, but I think it is the same size.
Could be.
Big.
Looks big, yeah. Yeah, so there is an overhang here, so we need a dash line there. And then here we would have a dash line also, really. Well, or do you just show the bottom?
Yeah, I would just show the sill.
Yeah, see that little sill, that little step right there? So we want to see that. That would be green. So we'll put a green line here. All right, and I'm going to move on to the next project. I'll take one more quick look around. So let's just take one more look at the, I'm going to open up my layer properties, go to my image layer here, and it is on no print right there. So then I don't have to worry about turning these images on and off so much. So control plot, preview. That looks pretty good. So this will be dashed. Get rid of some lines. I don't know, maybe the windows could be a little darker than that sill though.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so we could probably move them to the magenta. And so we could move this stuff to the magenta layer, perhaps. And again, play with the line weights later. Preview.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's looking good. And sometimes I do, when I'm feeling lazy, I will double click inside. It's a bad habit. And then I'll make adjustments, but never scrolling around. You're asking for trouble. T-scale 1. So it's set at 1 because I didn't go to my reference. I should be doing this in model space. This is not how you want to do things.
Yes. Well, except particularly like, yeah.
Pretty good. Maybe one more dash.
Mhm.
All right, makes sense. Any questions about this one for the folks that are working on it? Now's the time to ask. All right, let's take a look at the lounge. Oh my gosh, this is killing me. I'm gonna have to start working on the other monitor. All right, let's take a look at the lounge. There's nothing else particular about this. This is pretty straightforward. And then we have some nice thin partitions in there. And make sure for everybody, whatever your thickness is in plan, the walls are the same, of course, in section, right? Okay. So this guy, which is the worst drawing in terms of line weights and clarity. And wow, look at the hatches. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's clearly been generated out of some BIM software, but not well.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like Revit.
Huh. All right, so we established our boxes. Maybe I'll, yeah. Well, what should we do? So what might be an issue? So ignore all these hatches. Don't hatch anything, obviously. Even the furniture, some of the furniture is pretty ugly. I don't know. It's just weird. Like, I don't know. This weird style. Like, what's that? That's clothes?
Closet hangers.
Closet hangers. Yeah, I don't know. It's not doing much for me. So what would be, so we're not doing any hatching today. And what is this? Let me look at these pictures again.
Yeah, that is also a puzzle for me because that looks like it's just glass in the oh no, it's actually a solid wall. As it goes into that corner,
Yeah, see glass on the outside there. Or around the corner. Oh yeah, so this is what we're talking about. So a lot of you folks, so half the class is working on this one?
I think just about, yeah.
All right, so half the class should be paying attention at least, if not all. So this is peculiar, right? It kind of shoots back in glass and then it has this wedge in there. So that's what we're looking at. So how does that translate in their plan? So this is glass and that's wall. And then there's a little frame in the wall for some reason, right? And then there's more glass in there in the corner.
It's hard to say. It looks like it's asymmetrical because it looks like it's all glass on the other cube. From what I can tell, I can't quite get a clear view of it.
Which is ironic because they have like 1,000 pictures here.
Yeah, but they're all the same.
I know. Yeah, I think there's glass back there. See? I think that's a frame maybe. Everybody
So it looks
see?
like it's glass on both sides and then the wall in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah, it
It
looks
looks
like,
like, yeah, there's just that little piece of wall.
yeah, it looks like 3 panels, glass, wall, glass. Funny.
And it looks like on the other side, which doesn't agree with the plan, that it's all glass. I can't, it's a little hard to see that corner.
Yeah.
I wish they'd had a close-up of that kind of interesting fold
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, I mean, to make such a bold architectural feature and then take 1,000 pictures of the house and not have it clear is kind of weird. Yeah, I mean, that's what the plan is saying. Wall panels on both.
I think it may be the same on both sides. We probably just can't see it because the angle.
It's a horrible section. Yeah, I agree. But
That's probably the same.
yeah, with so many drawings and so many pictures, it really should be clear. There we go. If you're down the hill in the poison ivy, you could get a good view of it. Yeah, it doesn't look like any walls over there. Not from this angle, at least.
Yeah, I can't, I'm looking at every photograph I look at, it's not really featured. It doesn't look like, that looks like it's an all glass wall
Yeah.
on the
Oh, yeah, this
right
one's.
side.
Yeah, no, that's all glass. Yeah, there's no wall on this side. That's strange. Well, I mean, things change, but I don't know. It just seems like such an important feature. Okay. All right. So what do we need to know in CAD? So how many wall types? We got our big concrete walls. So we established the boxes, we established the angles. So then I would go with my X lines, of course, XL, A is for angle. And then once I've established this, I keep this guy here handy. So with that angle, I could just click 1, click 2, and then I have my angle. X line, A is for angle. So it's really, really important that you establish the first one and then copy it. All right, you can't be doing this by eye. The front and the back walls here are parallel to each other, right? We established that. This wall's nothing. This wall's nothing either, really. But I do. So we could get rid of him. We get rid of him. But I do. But the front and back walls of each volume are parallel. That's a perpendicular relationship, and that's a perpendicular relationship. So that has to be. So so we could do O is for offset, and we could come back here, click once till I find perpendicular, and then send that one back. Or I could go X line, A is for angle, click once, click twice, and then just drop it there. So either one would work just fine. Trim. So that's a little off.
Mhm. Yeah, I had problems with that corner.
Okay, all right, then I'm not gonna sweat it. So let's establish so maybe I'll just draw this window right here. That seems like a good thing to do.
Which is just to like throw it, that's actually the door.
Oh, okay. So what happens here if I extend, whoops, well, no, not that, undo, extend this guy. Oh, okay, no, maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll extend that line, trim this one, and have this guy live right here. Okay, that's better. I don't know why, but I feel better about that. All right, everybody sees that? That line and that line have found each other. And that told me where to put this line. I'm kind of making it up, but these architects need a little help, I think, a little guidance. All right, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the case study, right? Is like you're trying to learn for, and with whatever resources you have. But I'm gonna call that good. So these two meet each other, and that tells me where this line falls. So let's just do, so dimension linear, DLI, works rectilinear, 8 inches, or DAL, dimension aligned, DAL, here, and then I could find my perpendicular. So it looks like 8 inches is the answer to the question. O, enter, 8, enter. And I did not establish that line or that line. So these are going to be pretty arbitrary for all, we're just going to be doing by eye. So this I will do, X, L, enter, A for angle. So I'm just going to really zoom in pretty far. And then I'm going to zoom out and move down. And I don't know what happened. X line, A is for angle. Click 1. Turn off my ortho. Click 2. In theory, that should work just right. I'm not sure if it did. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. In theory, I like to zoom in at 2 different places, and if it all goes, if I did it correctly, it should be just right, and that looked good. O is for offset. 8 inches is still the number, so I just hit enter, and that comes over. One more time here. X line, A is for angle. Click 1. So right in the middle of all that blur. And drop it. O is for offset, 8 inches in. Trim, trim, trim and trim. So these, it looks like I've left the drawing a little bit, but I'm not going to worry about that. So let's just try it one more time. X line, A is for angle. So I'm going to zoom in just to find the general location of this blurry line. And then very important here is perpendicular. Okay, so I'm not doing this one by eye. This wall finishes with a perpendicular. And I could trim, trim, trim. Do that one more time here. This might not be perpendicular, actually. I don't know. Might not be. So maybe, this might just finish truly horizontal. X line horizontal. We'd have to go back to the pictures to see how that piece of concrete finishes, but for now, I'm going to have it run with the deck. Okay, so let's do this door. All right, so my drawing has left their drawing, and that's okay. So the door is going to be on the left side of this. I'm not going to, this is going to be concrete. So I would use the fillet command F to join these two and just see what that does. So it's a little peculiar. I'm going to live with it. I'm not going to, you're not going to see it from when we print it. So I'm just going to live with that the way it is. X line, or so I'm obviously I'm crazy about X lines, but we could also just copy this angle here and move it right there. That's another option. But I don't just start drawing things. Once I have lines established, I always kind of go back to them. So that's what's really most important. And then I should be able to trim that out. Good. Trim these out. Good. I don't know what I'm looking at. Line. I really don't know how to, there'd be a frame. I'm going to draw offset. So I'm just going to, O is for offset. So bring that line back. O is for offset. I'm going to draw the frame from that blur to here. Always going for perpendicular. Same on this side. So this one, for all of you who are doing it, you're gonna have to do a better job than they did. That's the bottom line. Like Michael said, it's really a lot of the rendering program just kind of creating an ugly drawing. So is this a glass door? Do we know that?
It looks like it's a glass door, but it's really hard to get a view of it because there's a retaining wall very close by it. So there's one view of the rear, but it's not very clear.
Yeah. So I'm going to trim out these two pieces. So I'm going to treat it just like I drew the other windows on the original, the hut. So this drawing is not going to provide you a lot of direction in terms of line weights. or kind of the geometry of things. So back to my original, this is how I like to do it. So we have 2 magenta frames, a magenta piece of glass, and 2 green pieces. The 2 pieces are the sill. And then it looks like a threshold here. It looks like it's different. So that would be green. That's how I would do it. That's what I would live with. And then again, all of these inside, all these interior walls. So I would X line, A is for angle, come to my reference line, on it once, on it twice, line there. So now I'll do these lines that are running parallel to it. I'm just going to do them all by eye. So that's that wall, and that wall. These, I think I'm going to draw these at this, maybe they're not the same dimension, DAL. So what do we say? This guy is 8 inches. This guy is, all right, so I'm going to call him 6. Offset 6. X line, A is for angle. I just start it anywhere, find perpendicular. Drop him there. I'll drop 1 for that. I need to get back to my offset. I missed this guy here. Copy him, bring him up. O is for offset. O is for offset, bring him in. And that looks like my lines. Trimming them, you go away, 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 away. Away. All these go away. Sorry, I missed somebody there, but you get the picture. Just finish this thought. You go there, offset, you go up. Trim, erase, erase. And I could just copy somebody who's handy, this guy, put him right there. So here again, very important for everybody, that door is just going to smush right into that line. So I'm going to cheat. Typically there has to be something. So O is for offset. I'm going to make a little return on this. In real life, I'd be surprised if there's not some type of a return. So that's when the wall turns to the door. There has to be something there. Trim, 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 trim. And I can, so just watch this one for doing a door on an angle. I'll copy this line, put him over here. So that is my door now. C is for circle, starts here, goes to there, and that tells me where this ends. The door ends there. That should trim there, there, and there. Trim and erase. Trim, trim and erase. Trim, 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 trim. So my door has left their door. I'm not sure why. Their door looks like it's reaching all the way to here, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Could, I don't know, could that happen? Not,
Right.
I don't know how that door would open. Could, I don't know. That's a little odd. I would never think that doors that I know typically have the hinge set at the far side, but I think for our purposes, that would look all right. Okay, questions about this house? I might have to go soon. I might have a guest coming, an electrician. Who's going to do work on the house, my favorite kind of guest.
So, yes, I do have a question. I was trying to figure out the outside door since it doesn't show at the draw.
This door?
Is that one the outside door?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we don't have to draw it like the normal ones, like
Opening. No, I
Uh-huh.
don't know. What do you think, Michael? Should we swing that door? It's hard to believe that's the door.
It has to be.
Yeah, otherwise
Yeah.
that's that or that. But that's, yeah, that's crazy.
No, it's that.
It's this way. It's this guy, yeah. So we'll draw it like that, like a window, or do you want to open it up?
I'd really like to know how one gets into this. It'd be better to show it opened up.
Should I swing this guy open, or should I draw it like I draw my others? So we could just rotate this guy.
Right.
You could guess what side the hinge is on. Probably away from this wall, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, yes.
So we could get him and we could take him from there and we would rotate him counterclockwise, which is 90 degrees.
Yeah, these drawings really are not reflecting what was built. Because when I look at, there isn't much of the back elevation, but the glass is all set towards the inside face of the wall. There's just one photograph that shows it, but they're set back from.
I don't know.
That's good. That's fun.
I don't feel good about it.
Feel good about it?
I don't feel good about
Don't
it.
feel good about it. Oh.
I don't know what to do, but I've never drawn anything like that. Because this swing is not going to where it needs to go. So just like that.
I guess.
All right. Yeah, get that far and maybe we'll adjust it later. I'm not gonna. Yeah, I don't know. Without a swing. And then let me just hear while we're on this. So when we get to blocks and we get to objects, so all the blocks should be in Canvas. Can you guys get to files or not?
Mm-hmm.
They can?
They are the same that we use for the case study, right? The blocks.
Yeah, so
then we can get to them, yeah.
Okay, so here are the CAD blocks. So if you get a bed and you bring it in, you got that big rectangle. So let me just go over the aligning, move. So we'll pick it up from the base point, put it roughly where it's going for now. So this is kind of like scaling, not exactly. So we are going to rotate, enter, select our object, and it has to be on a line. I can move it off the line after. So rotate, select the object, enter, select the base point, which is on the line. And then again, R is for reference. R, enter, and now it's 3 points. The base point, the line, the other part of that line, and then where I want to move it to. Okay, so I want the bed to be parallel to that guy. Rotate, select, enter, base point, R for reference, 1, 2, 3. All right, other questions about any of the houses, any of the CAD? So walls, windows, doors should be done. Furniture is not as important. I would move to the section. I would move to the section before furniture so that if you're having issues, if things aren't aligning or aren't making sense, you could tell us sooner than later.
Yep.
You could fill in, and just in general, it's going to be everything that we did last project, CAD, Photoshop, SketchUp, and by the end of next week, you're going to be doing it all pretty much. We'll set some deadlines for things for the drafts, but you're going to be on your own to move all the pieces of the puzzle forward. So start with the big picture stuff. You need the plans and the sections need to be done before you get into SketchUp. Furniture and hatches could happen later. Question, Tatiana?
Sorry, if you have 1 second, can you go back to or the hut or anywhere, your
Yeah.
dashed lines? For some reason, mine still aren't looking quite right. I was wondering if
So you
could
get the
show
L,
what you're looking at in properties to kind of determine.
yep, LT scale is at 72.
Mhm.
And then you have a line that is definitely on the dash line layer.
Yes.
And then back in the property box, LT scale. So this is a line type scale that is specific to that line. So
Mhm.
that one is set at 1. That one is set at 0.5, 0.3, 0.2.
Okay.
And if I select them all, it says varies because they vary.
Okay.
So it's that number. And they typically, by default, they come in at 1, which is typically a little too big and blocky, especially when you're getting into little doors. So in one drawing, you could have 2, maybe 3 different type line, different line scales. Like this drawing, they all look the same in the hut. You know, this is probably a shower. That's what the X typically means. So here they appear to have treated all the dash lines the same, but it works just fine. They don't have their doors dashed. But it's not uncommon to have 2, maybe even 3 different dashes. Like well, let's see. So this one, that's not bad. Yeah, so I mean, this isn't too bad. I mean, you could throw in 1 more dash. So that's 0.4, and that's 0.2. So, I mean, they could all be 0.3. So it's really a judgment call, but it's kind of like the length of the line, the number of dashes that kind of makes sense.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
all about the legibility and readability. And you can, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and then just back to this little issue. Oh, so yeah, how are we going to draw these? Let's just talk about that real quick. Yeah, why don't we do this real quick? Trim. And so make sure everybody's trimmed in at the right size. So what's your instinct on how many lines do we want here, Michael? 1?
I think
piece
just
of glass. 1 piece of glass. Okay.
1 piece of glass, yeah.
All right. So this was be divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we select or we divide div, select the object, 7, enter. And then, so draw a little box right here. So I definitely want it to be square. I guess I want it to be square. I don't know, maybe I don't. Maybe they're rectangles, actually. Dare I go back to the pictures? No, I'm gonna be too far away. I'm gonna make them squares. They could be squares or they could be slightly elongated in this direction. But O is for offset. So again, it's kind of a judgment call. Yeah, I can't tell if these should be squares or not. So I'll make them rectangles. So O is for offset. So this line is the center of the glass. So I'm gonna click 1, perpendicular, shoot that line up, shoot that line down. I could just bring these, stretch these over a little bit. So that's my top and bottom line. O is for offset, and now I want it to be a little thinner than it is deep. So I'm just going to click. So I'm just doing this all by eye. Click one, and then bring that line back and bring that line back. So just all around this point. So that's the point. I'm just building a box around it by doing offsets in each direction. And then once I get that rectangle, erase my construction lines. Then I can copy him down the line. And I made the executive decision that these would all be the same distance, and that looks pretty good. But again, if it starts leaving the, so here I would just cheat it in and cut it. Trim that portion of the box, trim out the center of the boxes. So nodes go away. Center line could go away, and trim out the boxes. And I left everybody red, which is probably not going to happen. Definitely not going to happen. I mean, it is just one line, but so it needs to be on the darker side. But you might end up needing more layers if you know, if this drawing's a little on the goofy side. Just not, you know, not being the standards that I typically use is what I mean by goofy. So if we have some windows that are one line, here we got a window that's 3 lines. So we might end up having, you know, 4 or 5 layers rather than 3, so that we could have a little more control over it. So let's check out our lounge and see how this butte is taking shape. Yeah, so I would say, yeah, so those have turned into black blobs, which is probably going to happen. That looks a little suspicious there. I think I carried some other line with it. So I kind of like the thin lines there, but this is going to need some refinement in terms of line weights, no doubt. My door, so I didn't need a dash line, but it looks like my wall and my door are getting mushed together as well. Yeah, so it's going to need some refinement. So like when you draw this, I would probably cheat it in a little further yet.
Mhm.
Yeah, just save yourself the headache. So not big headache, but just keep in mind for everybody, for all your work, that whenever you get lines that are this close, you could be making mush. So move, select these guys. So you could stretch this, but that would be a little tricky. So now I can pick up these guys from this point and move them once over. And then F is for fillet. Get him on my dash layer. All right, more questions? Otherwise, I'm going to have to take off in a minute. Everybody's clear?
So everybody's, oh, go ahead. No, please, Paolo, go ahead.
So just to make myself clear, this Sunday, for example, I'm working on this one, Tepoztlan, and so it's just the thickness of the wall and doors and furniture, right? And then
No.
the section the same.
Walls,
furniture.
walls, windows, and doors come first. Furniture's later.
Okay.
Yeah.
And get started on the section.
In this section, yeah, you're going into SketchUp next week. So
Okay.
you need the structure of the building first. And then we'll work on furniture, hatches, going into Photoshop, all that stuff. So big picture, get everything you need to build this building in SketchUp in place.
Okay, only one section and that plan.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we're probably going to add a third drawing, either a detail or something else, but we'll talk more about that next week.
All right, thank you.
Other questions? Did you have something to add, Michael? Some thoughts?
No, really, as you go through each of these drawings, each of them is going to require you to make a certain amount of interpretation. And particularly this last one, because the underlying drawings are a little ambiguous and even maybe not quite correct. So you're going to have to make some, interpretations. The other thing is, as you look at this, and I'll be talking about this as we start doing SketchUp, is think a little bit more about how these buildings were built. Like this building is reinforced concrete. And then the light partition walls and glass curtain walls were added in. The hut is a wood frame. Yeah, there we go. And I think there's a little step there that indicates where the door is, right there at the corner. So look at the photographs while you're working on this and try to get a feeling, of what you think and what I can tell you about how these buildings were put together.
You need it for SketchUp, especially. I mean, you could wing it with CAD, but it won't be as good. But for SketchUp, I'm sure you're going to need these photos much more.
Yeah, and so that's going to be a really big part of the project.
Yeah, which is fun. I mean, these houses are all admirable, and cool. They're just nice houses. So there are lessons to be learned. These drawings leave a bit to be desired, but that's, like Michael said, the rendering program that created them. But this will be a nice section, right? We could do all these trees in Photoshop.
Yeah, in Photoshop, they'll be beautiful.
Yeah. Is that concrete actually cantilevers out like that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not much of a cantilever. Yeah.
There's a lot of similar views.
I know. Yeah.
Okay.
For a sec. I'll be down in 2 minutes.
Your electrician has arrived?
My carpenter's leaving, actually, so I don't know if the electrician's getting here or not. I'll have to check in with him. All right, I'm going to tune out. Is that all right?
All right.
Okay. All right. Have a good, productive weekend. It's Thursday already, so Sunday we'll see plans and sections, or a section. Good. I will stop the share and I will say goodbye. Okay. Take care all. Bye.
Okay. So we'll just a brief. Oh, don't go away yet. Just a brief piece. Your presentation boards. This is what I want to do with the last few minutes we have. So that's what's due for Sunday. Print them as PDFs, and we'll take it from there. So the thing that I wanted to go over really briefly with you guys was the final presentation boards for Project 1, which were really good. You'll see that reflected in your grades. I was pretty satisfied with what you folks did. So let me just see if I can share, and I am just going to go to desktop, come on, desktop. Okay, and go. Okay, and so I think these all came out looking really good. And they're just little tweaks, like, so for Mr. Altland's here, these floor plans really should be cinched over a little bit so that they align with this side of this rendered image. And these guys would look a lot better if they were centered on this rendered image up here. Let's go. Okay. And really nice renderings. I like that you did a different layout than the one that was recommended with the large rendering at the bottom. I still think they're not quite complete on the diagrams. They're a little too big. They could really be shrunk down. These diagrams shouldn't be bigger than the floor plans, but I thought this looks very good. Okay, and I think this has gotten better. The one thing is that this text box should align with something. Maybe it fits in here. And I might reverse the order of these. The clouds in this sort of look like this is fading into this. Maybe that would look better if this bottom rendering was above, and maybe both of them are trimmed to the same width. Again, this isn't fully labeled. Right? Okay, we're going in reverse. I'm actually, instructors aren't supposed to do this, but I really liked this board, I think, the best. Mr. Sellers. Oh, everyone's still here? Because he's got a nice grid working, both vertically and horizontally. The Photoshop work is really good. The plans read really well. The text is nicely placed. The diagrams are very clear. They do need to be labeled, but it's still, I think, a very effective board, very nicely, very attractively arranged. And that's what you want to look for is, if you can possibly align things in columns and rows and give your drawings, when you have a set of multiple drawings, structure, that's what you want to try to aim for. And I really like that you actually, the colors here in the diagrams kind of fit the colors that we see in the rest of the rest of the board. So really nice. Let's see. I like this. I'm such an easy mark. I really like this board a lot. Now this is actually both. These are both renderings using Lumion, which we will get into a little bit, and then Photoshopped. This one's a little Martian down here in the lower left, but the Photoshop work is really good. It looks like, yes, if we have the first visitor center on Mars, this would be it. But nicely done. And let's see, lyrics, this came out well. This text is still way too big. Your renderings want to be bigger, and your floor plans probably want to be smaller. Oh, Romina, and you have just a few little things like right in here. I know how this little accident happened, where you have a border around this. We don't want that. This guy's a little tight to the edge, but these renderings look good. And if I have a moment, I'll show the one that you did with the Lumion renders, which I think these are more effective. a few little spelling mistakes, which reminds me that I'll show you when we start working on our boards, there's a way to do an automatic spell check in InDesign. So we'll do that. All right, Abdella. I think this is kind of cool. I'm not quite sure that the color on this furniture works. It's too close to the color of the deck, but nice dramatic images. I think this, again, should be centered. I kind of like these candy colors, although they don't quite go with the rest of the board, but you know, it still works well. And this one, you know, nice soft touch as far as the plans. And this is nicely organized where we've got like 3 columns and 1 image spreading across those columns. This is a lot like the board that I showed you. Together. And this is good. The text, though, really should be aligned with something, not just sort of floating here as a box. Photoshop critique, these guys really need to be toned down. They're right at the center of this whole composition, and they're stealing the show, and we want to be looking at the design a lot more. So this is nice. This is, you know, a nice soft touch. Again, I think, Joyce, that this might be better aligned either to the left or aligned to the center of with that rendering above. And I think there was one more, but let's take a look. Preview. Okay. And, you know, I think this board came out really pretty well. Again, we'll look at spell checkers. I still have problems with this guy. If only he was moved, and that's something I would kind of ask for the portfolio. It looks like the umbrella is coming out of his head. It just feels awkward. Let me see. Nope, well, that's about it. Okay, I think that was everyone's. So nice work, nicely summed up. My internet connection is unstable. That may be a clue for me to stop. So great. So get your plans and sections, plan and section for Sunday, and we'll look forward to receiving those. And we'll see you on Tuesday.
So just to
questions?
confirm, sorry, for Sunday, so we have our AutoCAD work for case study 2 due, and then are we resubmitting these boards also on Sunday?
No, this is it. We're done.
Okay.
They're good. I was very pleased overall with the boards. You might just note this, like when they go into your portfolio, like these last little tweaks and you'll reformat them a little bit. But we're done now with project 1.
Okay.
And we're moving on.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay.
Any other questions? This is a good time to ask questions if you have any. Well, I will check my email if you run into problems or questions over the weekend. And then we're going to, the goal is on Tuesday, we'll go over the CAD work. And I'm going to start going over SketchUp. I'm going to go over some maneuvers that we haven't really done yet. And then what we're planning to do for Thursday is your plan and section will be turned in. In that case, we want them as AutoCAD files. So that will be a week from today. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the best of them, and I'm going to import them into SketchUp for you so that we'll have a base to work with, so that you will download a file from that I'll put together with the best of the plan and section. So take a close look at the buildings over the weekend, and I'll be looking forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you.
That's the end of the show. You're welcome.
Okay. See you on Tuesday. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
I'm gonna
you.
stop the
Bye.
recording.
Bye.
Bye. Stop share. Let's stop the recording. Stop.